You can't imagine how many musicians and people in the media said I was an idiot. How stupid I was to leave this amazing top-of-the-world band. For what? That's what they were all saying. Why?
You knew,
But
didn't you?
I needed a new life.
Hello and welcome to the third act. I'm Catherine Fairweather, and I'm here with Bill Wyman, who needs no introduction as the legendary bassist and rock star who stepped away from the Rolling Stones in their golden years in the 90s to focus on his quieter passions of metal detecting, archiving and photography. He is the author of coming up to a dozen books, the latest of which, Billy in the Wars, animates our conversation over a glass of wine here at Auriens. Bill, I must say that I found Billy in the War Years absolutely moving and charming. I really enjoyed reading it.
Oh, thank you.
Who's the wonderful artist in it?
That's my eldest daughter's boyfriend.
Really brilliantly
Owen
interpreted.
He's Southern Irish, and he does comics, and he's a really, really nice artist. And so I asked him if he wanted to do it, and he came up with some really nice designs.
Yeah, it was really charming.
I like the one of me sitting in the train.
I think that
little
adorable
legs.
with your little legs dangling, dangling.
Eating my jam sandwich.
That was very moving. That was you, age 5, being sent
put on
off
a train in Nottingham and sent it down to London by myself, without a card or. But that's what happened in those days.
You were evacuated? Was that during an evacuation?
Well, we were evacuated to Nottingham, the family, but I wasn't happy there. I was happy because I've suddenly discovered nature and countryside, because I used to have to walk about half a mile to school through fields and see sheep and, horses and
because you were from
cows.
Sydenham.
Lower Sydenham, yeah. And so that was marvellous, and walking through the little lanes and discovering birds' nests and frogs and lizards and, all that kind of stuff when you were little, on the way up to school and back. But then the teacher used to hit me all the time because she tried to make me talk with a Nottingham accent. And I had a Cockney accent, and I wouldn't change, and so every time I didn't change, he used to smack me. And so in the end, I started to play truant, and I was very unhappy to be at school, and so I played truant. And then my mother found out that I was playing truant, and she decided that she couldn't deal with me because she had 2 other children to look after, and she's pregnant with our 4th. Yeah, my dad was in the military. She couldn't really cope. And so she just took me to Nottingham one morning and put me on a train.
With your little jam sandwich?
With a jam sandwich and a little bag with a few bits in it. And my gran was told to meet me at the other end at Euston Station. So it's about a 2.25 hour train journey. Luckily, when I went in the carriage, there was an old lady in the carriage. And my mother said to the old lady, can you keep your eye on him or something? And then she said goodbye to me. And it's the first time I really remember my mum crying.
So you do remember, you have memories of that moment?
When we said goodbye.
Do you think that was your first memory, proper memory?
The only other time is when, during the war in a bombing, when she laid on top of us with bombs, when we couldn't get to the air raid shelter. And we were all in the big bed, and she just laid across us. And I thought she really cares about us. And so when I saw her crying to say goodbye to me, I suddenly realised that, she was upset, which I'd never really thought about before.
No, because I suppose you saw, you kept being sent away to your, as it turns out, wonderful grandmother.
Being sent away, I never felt like part of the family, really. I always felt like being an outcast.
Really? So there was a sense of loneliness about you?
Yeah, except for my grandmother, who really was wonderful. But I had the same problem when I went to the military and various other times in my life when I just didn't feel loved. I never got a cuddle. I never got a mum or dad that cuddled you and said, I love you or anything. It never happened. They didn't do it in those days.
No. Did you learn how to do it yourself with your
my
own
grandmother
children?
did it. She did hug me and say, I love you. She did read me bedtime stories.
She sounds like a phenomenal woman.
Yeah, she was fantastic. And she created me the way I am now. It was the only thing that possibly made me what I am.
Yes, you described that she just made you feel that you could do anything.
Well, the first thing was when she came to see me when I was born. She came from Penge down to Lower Sydenham to see her first grandchild. And she looked at me and she picked me up and she said, this boy's going to be world famous. And everybody just roared with laughter and thought it was a complete
Why
joke.
did she think that? What was it about?
Don't ask me. She just said it. She just picked me up and said, this boy is going to be world famous.
Well, she was right, wasn't she?
Yes. But God knows why she said it, and God knows why. Obviously, everybody laughed and thought it was a complete joke. But everybody told me that story. My mum told me it, my dad told me it, my aunts told me it. They all said the same thing, and they all made a joke of it.
Well, she obviously saw something in you that maybe the teachers didn't
I was
see.
a week old.
Yeah, but then, yes, exactly.
So it was probably wishful thinking, but then when she took care of me at the age of 5, she taught me everything.
She taught you. She encouraged you to keep a scrapbook, didn't she? And
she taught me everything. She taught me all my maths. She taught me all my times tables. She taught me the alphabet backwards. She taught me to keep a diary. She taught me to start making a scrapbook and start collecting things like cigarette cards, marbles, coins, everything,
passions that you still you still have
so
today.
My entire life has been collecting because it's been a passion of me, and it's been so beneficial.
As you describe yourself, it seems almost slightly at odds with a rock star life. You describe yourself as an anorak. Yes,
I'm completely alien to the way all the others. They used to think I was mad.
Did they? Did they tease you?
Yes, when I used to start collecting things on tour, like a ticket or a pass or a program or a poster, if I was lucky, take it off the wall at the theatre or something. They used to think I was mad. Why do you do all that rubbish? But years later, they all wished they'd have done the same thing or wanted to partake in my collection,
Yeah, and you're the great archivist of the Rolling Stones. They should be really grateful.
Yeah, eventually I was.
So this wonderful grandmother who encouraged you and gave you love and did give you a cuddle, and these war years, I must say, when I was reading the book, I thought, actually, it seemed like a pretty idyllic childhood. You say you were lonely, and you were obviously very hungry.
I was always lonely.
You were always lonely.
Always. I never felt really loved except for my grandmother.
Yeah. So maybe it wasn't idyllic then, but the freedom you seem to have of playing in bombed out buildings and running around with other children and...
Well, that's all you did, because there's nothing else to do, We didn't have electricity until I was 16, People don't realise that, so you didn't have all those amenities. When you came out of school, you just played kiss chase or whatever it was across the bomb sites because there was no parks or anything.
Sense of community, great sense of community.
The community was wonderful. All the neighbours, everyone were friendly to... There was nobody that wasn't friendly and helpful. Everybody was giving up clothes. Once their kids grew out of clothes, they'd pass them to other families that had little kids, And so everything was shared. If you ran out of food, sometimes my mum and dad told me years later that sometimes we used to get up in the morning and we had nothing to eat, so we wouldn't get you up out of bed. When you always wanted to get up, all your kids, we said it's not time to get up because we didn't have any food to feed you. And we had to go out to the neighbours and kind of cadge a bit of this and the other and come back, and then we'd let you get up, and then we'd give you breakfast, and it was all like that. But it was happening to all the families.
Yeah.
We weren't unique.
Yeah.
And so it was a normal way of life.
And didn't you have a near-death experience
Oh, many.
during the war years?
Well, there was one where we were machine gunned in the street by a Messerschmitt coming back from school, yeah. And we got bombed by a doodlebug, which just missed us and went in the next street and took down about 12 houses. And it stopped right above us, you know. And all the ladies just threw their bodies on all the kids in the air raid shelter because we shared with other families. And we all prayed for it to go over, you know, because they were coming over all the time.
Yeah.
Every other street got hit, you know. So you were really lucky if you survived. I used to go to school and then there were 2 kids not there anymore because they died in a bomb, you know, the day before, just up the street, the next street.